Follow the money. It's a saying well used by journalists around the world, as well as our Cronkite News reporters working the business beat. Tonight, we bring you some of our top Arizona stories focused on making money, spending money, and protecting your hard-earned cash. Right now, we are at 90 degrees. We did reach our high much lower than the record we set back in 2009 when we hit 107. Now, temperatures across the state, it is getting colder up in northern Arizona, where we do want to start bundling up. Grand Canyon right now is at 51, Flagstaff 62, but as we get closer to Lake Havasu, we're back in the 90s, and then Yuma 91. We do still have some hot weather here in Phoenix. Right now, 99, but with a humidity around 30%. See that Phoenix is leading the national highs. We're at 97 degrees right now, but that isn't the case for the entire state. Grand Canyon has great weather at 75 and Flagstaff 72. Prescott at 80, but as we get a little bit further south down in Tucson, we're at 98. Bull riding, cattle roping, and barrel racing, it's all a part of the 6th annual Arizona Black Rodeo. It was originally created to bring awareness of how the African American community contributed to shaping the Western culture. To increase to this afternoon. We're going to reach our high at 97 around 2 p.m., but we're going to keep those clear skies until tonight and finish our evening at 86 degrees. The Rio Salado habitat is south of downtown Phoenix. It used to be a riverbed, then landfill, and now it houses over 200 bird species. It was strategically chosen by Angela so people can disconnect with the world and reconnect with nature and each other. Arizona right now, as it makes its way up north, it's going to give us a chance of some showers here in the valley and thunderstorms up in those higher altitudes. A demand for civil rights, protests against police brutality. The national headlines hit home here in Arizona too. Continuing our in-depth series on our state's racial divide, I spoke with community leaders about their efforts to address what they call injustice.
You see the killings on TV and you see the killings locally, you are impacted by it because it could be you, it could be anyone, but if you're black, it can especially be you.
I've had a police officer draw a gun on me before. It changes your perspective, that you realize it really doesn't matter if you're shot by a good guy or a bad guy, you're just as dead.
In my community, there was sheriff's SUVs. They were just roaming around. And it was a clear intimidation tactic. It was clearly like, we're here to suppress you, to continue to marginalize you, and we're the authority, and if you're undocumented, we're going to deport you. It seems like they're being targeted specifically because of the color of their skin. It's pushed me to be able to continue fighting for people that are marginalized, and so that's the reason why I want to go on to law school and become a lawyer, and then do this for the rest of my life.
Everybody, it ain't about me being black, you white, you green, you yellow.
People are outraged and justifiably so. People have to find a way to fight back against what they might consider to be systemic racism or institutional racism. We have an obligation to meet with our oppressors.
I think protesting has a strong voice. It's a way that you bring grievances against a government. The power, if you will, is sometimes by many voices, by many citizens. So I don't underestimate the power of protest or demonstrations any more than the power of social media.
Give us your hand! Give us your hand!
I don't know about you, brothers and sisters, but I don't think I can stand another day of watching our black men and women die on Facebook Live.
I push back with every fiber of my being. We want good law enforcement leadership. We want good local government. And so sometimes that means, raising hell, holding them accountable, holding their feet to the fire, creating or dramatizing our issues, as Dr. King called it, dramatizing our issues, to force those meetings. We're here at the state capitol, the site of several protests that we had against police brutality. We came out here at one of our protests and we struck this bell to let freedom ring. We were out here to demand an end to police brutality and injustice. A lot of these politicians say they've got an open door policy. And it is an open door policy. After we kick the door down, there's no door.
Many of those people, even today, are unidentified, their fate unknown even to their families. One Tucson artist has made it his mission to remember them. Alvaro Enciso builds wooden crosses in his art studio, each one with a red dot meant to represent a place of death.
No, not many people know about 3,000 casualties here, 2,000 people missing.
He makes the crosses to honor hundreds of people who have died crossing the desert from Mexico into Arizona.
The plan was to go there and stand where a person died and see how it felt, try to imagine the story that we will never know.
One of his crosses is for a baby who died here on Aravaca Road, about 11 miles from the border.
And so I put a cross there. And then people learned that this was a baby that never had a chance.
The Pima County Medical Examiner's Office in Tucson reports that more than 2,700 remains have been found in the Sonoran Desert since 2001. About 1,000 of those have never been identified.
On paper, the number one cause of death over the last few years has been undetermined, not environmental related. That's because of the condition of the remains.
Hess said identifying a body is directly related to how long it's been in the desert. Humanitarian groups like the Tucson Samaritans have tried to prevent these deaths by leaving water jugs along the desert trails used by migrants.
We have at least decreased the deaths in the areas that we serve, which are basically between this road and that mountain.
However, Enciso just wants the dead remembered.
In 20 years from now, we'll begin to write this chapter of American history. Is going to be very sad, very shameful that we didn't treat our neighbors right.